Derek Ponamsky and Jordy Culotta from 104.5 here out in front of the LSU operations building with a little update for Louisiana Daily and BayouBengalsInsider.com. You know, Jordy, when you think about where this program is since January 9th, all of the turbulence, everything else that goes with it, it seems only fitting that there would be a weather question to start the season as well.
Yeah, distractions around this LSU football program, hadn't heard of those, but it's another August, another distraction, and Coach Miles talked about it today at his first lunch with Les going into the North Texas game. A lot of the experience that the coaching staff has from 05 and 08 with Katrina and Gustav obviously going to play a role here this week as far as getting this team prepared. But after talking to some of the players, it's a regular game week. They'll let the weather play out, and they'll adjust from there. I think this team is really ready to deal with the distractions from a coaching standpoint, and the players are obviously bought in as just a plan that they've put in place to just go out and execute it, and they're looking forward to Saturday.
They're talking about some changes in the coaching staff. You have two new coaches on the staff. Adam Henry is your new wide receivers coach. He comes from the Oakland Raiders. Corey Raymond is your new defensive backs coach. He played here at LSU, was an assistant under Tommy Moffitt, went to Nebraska. Comes to LSU from Nebraska, but one thing both of those guys have in common, Henry coached in the NFL, Raymond played in the NFL. Those guys have that kind of background. What are you looking at? Because those are two really young groups and guys that have tremendous talent. What are you looking for in those two groups as the new position coaches? Well,
I think that you'll see a lot of new names bust onto the scene. We all know about the attrition that the defensive backfield suffered in the offseason. They lose a guy like Morris Claiborne as a 6th overall pick, the NFL draft, All-American Tyrann Mathieu dismissed from the squad a little over 3 weeks ago. So Corey Raymond's going to have to earn his paycheck for sure. And the guys that we've talked to early on out of that defensive backfield, namely Eric Reed, the leader at that spot, really praises Coach Raymond for the installation of bringing in new technique to these younger guys, really having them understand the speed and the concept that they're trying to get out on the field. When you got a guy driving the defense like Eric Reed, it gives you a little bit more comfort from a standpoint as a defensive backs coach. And Corey Raymond, you know, Adam Henry on the other side, another guy that's going to introduce a lot of new names to the LSU fans this fall, notably James Wright. We just heard about Coach Miles talk about it. He'll get the start opposite Odell Beckham. So you're talking about a guy in Wright, comes out of Bell Chase 3 years ago, wasn't redshirted, played behind Ruben Randall. Tough to get footballs thrown your way, but we've all heard and seen his progress and seen his growth through springs, through offseason. Now it's his time to shine. And talking to some of those receivers, just had a conversation with Russell Shepard, and he really praised Coach Adam Henry about getting in here, getting these guys to buy in, and really letting these guys use their ability and not letting them freelance out there, Derek, to say, but just letting them play to their strengths.
Who's the guy you're looking at the most? I mean, obviously Mettenberger's, you know, okay, other than Mettenberger, who do you want to see the most this weekend?
Offensively, it's La'el Collins stepping into the left guard spot to take over for Will Blackwell, who's now with the Carolina Panthers. I think, you know, you and I watched Collins play his last game against Kenny Hilliard and Patterson over there at Redemptorist, and, you know, physically he just really passes the eyeball test. He was one of the top offensive linemen coming out of high school a couple of years back. I think that he's going to add some athleticism to this offensive line. That's probably one of the stoutest groups as a unit on this Tiger team. Defensively, for me, it's Jamario Rasco. Those two defensive ends ahead of him, Mingo and Montgomery, you know what you got there. Those are two first-round NFL guys. Rasco, I think, is the next in line. Watched him play at Evangel. He was a dominant defensive end playing for those guys in 2A. And last season, when they peeled the red shirt off of him versus West Virginia, every time he had the opportunity to make plays at that defensive end spot where LSU's so wealthy in talent, he made plays. So I think 59-70 for me going in for this season in 2012 for my players to watch.
For me, I'm going to go with two other guys, two juniors. Craig Loston on the defensive side of the ball, Alfred Blue on the offensive side of the ball. Both of those guys are going to finally be given their opportunity to shine. I think Blue is a guy that can do an awful lot of things with the ball in his hands. He's healthy. He's physically as mature as he's ever been before. I'm looking at Blue there. On the defensive side of the ball, if Loston can pull everything together and stay healthy for an entire season, he has the potential for absolute greatness. Those are the two guys I'm looking at. For Jordy Culotta, I'm Derek Ponamsky. We're with BayouBengalsInsider.com, 104.5 ESPN, and Louisiana Daily.